It began quietly, almost imperceptibly. At first, I didn't even realize something was wrong. For the first few days, I only felt slight tension in my body, like my muscles were stretching on their own. There was a strange itching in my fingers and chest. I thought it was just exhaustion, work stress, and the solitude of home. But soon those little things became far too disturbing to ignore. One morning, I woke up with a deep scratch on my palm. It was a thin but sharp line, as if drawn by a blade. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember how it got there, but no explanation came to mind. Then the dreams began. On the first night, I found myself in a dark room. It was empty, the walls cracked and oozing a thick, tar-like black liquid. The floor was cold beneath my bare feet, and the air was so heavy it was hard to breathe. I knew I wasn't alone. In the corner stood a figure. It was hazy, as though made of smoke or fog. I couldn't discern its features, but its presence was overwhelming. "I'm here," it whispered. The voice was low, almost growling, as if it resonated inside my skull. I wanted to scream, but my voice froze in my throat. I woke up drenched in sweat, gasping for air as if I had been suffocating. My scratched palm throbbed painfully, almost as if trying to remind me of itself. It was just a dream, I told myself, but the anxiety lingered all day, refusing to let go. The next day, I began noticing things I couldn't explain. Every time I looked in the mirror, I felt like my eyes were different. There was something foreign in them, something that seemed to be watching me from the inside. But the most terrifying moment came one morning while I was brushing my teeth. I was standing at the sink, going through my usual routine, when I heard a voice. "Can you feel me?" It wasn't mine, but it wasn't coming from anywhere else either. It was in my head, calm but filled with power. I dropped my toothbrush and spun around, but of course, the bathroom was empty. I tried convincing myself it was just exhaustion or an overactive imagination. But that night, as I lay in bed, the voice came again. "We are one now," it whispered. "You know that." I bolted upright, panic coursing through me. I turned on every light in the room and paced back and forth, but the voice didn't stop. "I'm inside you," it said. The words were so alien and threatening that I felt true fear for the first time in my life. It wasn't just paranoia anymore. Something had invaded me. Day by day, things got worse. I started noticing gaps in my memory. Sometimes I'd find myself standing in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, with no recollection of how I got there. My hands moved on their own, making strange gestures I couldn't understand. One night, I woke to the sound of scraping. The room was dark, and my body felt wrong. I turned on my phone's flashlight and froze. My hands were gripping a knife, slowly carving symbols into the wooden surface of my desk. "What are you doing?" I screamed, dropping the knife. The voice inside me laughed. "This isn't you, this is us." The symbols on the desk looked ancient, something out of a grimoire or a ritual. My hands bore fresh cuts, stinging as if to remind me of the reality I was now living in. I tried to brush it off as stress, as some kind of strange dream. But as the days passed, I realized this was no dream. By now, I felt like a prisoner in my own body. The sensation of something moving under my skin became more frequent. Sometimes it was subtle, like a deep itch, but other times it felt like something crawling through my veins. One night, I woke to the sound of my own scream. It was my voice, but I didn't remember screaming. I stumbled to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. What I saw made my blood run cold. My eyes were entirely black, like bottomless pits. I blinked, and they returned to normal, but the image was seared into my mind. "You're just a vessel," the voice whispered. My hand moved on its own, reaching toward my face. I couldn't stop it. The thing inside me was laughing, reveling in my terror. I couldn't take it anymore. I began researching everything I could about spirits, possessions, and ancient rituals. Some sources suggested that such entities fed on fear, and the only way to weaken them was to fight back. I tried confronting it. I screamed at it, demanded it leave. "You think you're stronger than me?" the voice mocked. "You're just a shell." But sometimes I felt glimmers of hope. When the voice weakened, I managed to regain control, if only for a moment. One night, I found a ritual online. It required candles, symbols drawn in chalk, and incantations spoken aloud. As I prepared, the voice inside me grew louder, more frantic. "You're making a mistake," it growled. "You have no idea what you're doing." But I didn't stop. I lit the candles, drew the symbols, and began chanting the words. The room grew icy cold, and the lights flickered violently. "Stop!" the voice screamed. My body convulsed as though something was trying to break free. When I opened my eyes, the room was dark. The candles had gone out, and the symbols on the floor were smudged. For a moment, I felt relief. The entity was gone, or so I thought. Then I heard it. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" the voice whispered. My body moved against my will. I stood up, though I didn't want to. My reflection in the mirror smirked at me with a grin that wasn't mine. "This is my body now," the voice said. I realized I had lost. It had won, but I wasn't about to let it live through me. If I couldn't be free, neither could it. Gathering every ounce of willpower I had left, I grabbed the knife from my desk. "No," the voice screamed. With one final surge of strength, I drove the blade into my chest. The world went dark.